Well, Robin, thank you so much for helping me in my project. Can you say a little bit about yourself?
Um, I have over 20 years experience as a medical professional. I have a mathematics degree and I'm published in medical journals, medical physics journals, and have a definite interest in what goes on in space.
And do you still practice mathematics, or what are your hobbies?
Uh, my hobbies. Well, I do the Space Society, and that's sort of professional and sort of a hobby, um, and because it's an interest that I have. But I am currently employed for someone that does writing for space contracts.
That sounds neat. Let's see.
But the hobbies I run, I I don't know what else I can say, you know.
Well, so when did you find out that we were going to the moon in 2024?
I don't remember the exact date. I guess it was this year that it was a definite thing that I understood that we were going back in
And
2020.
and how did you find out?
Through attending National Space Society meetings and staying congruent with this group.
Would you believe out of the 220 some odd people I've interviewed, probably only about 40 or 45 of them actually knew we were going to the moon in 2024?
Yes, I can believe that, because if you sometimes are not directly linked to some entity that has a certain interest, you won't find out what is going on in that area.
Now, one of the reasons for going back that a lot of people like to talk about is that it will inspire the next generation and inspire us to do more things. And the question I have is, how can it inspire if people don't know about it? And I was wondering what your thoughts were there.
It would be, anyone not knowing about. Now, reword say it again one more time.
So one of the reasons to go to the moon that people like to talk about is inspiration, inspiring young people to pursue, uh, an education in STEM, and inspiring people to look at space-based businesses and imagining a world where humanity's interests are beyond just the Earth. But how can going back to the moon inspire people if they don't know about it? Or will they just learn about it after it happens and that'd be the inspiration we seek? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Inspiration can happen at different times and still have positive inputs. However, I do believe when you talk about STEM and the timeline of access, it can make a difference. If people don't know now, if they're not related to some entity that's going to inform them, then they're not going to have the advantages of being informed to grow with. And I do believe, as far as STEM, many youth are coming up, and I think that the sooner that things are introduced to children at younger ages, even very tiny young children, it can cause them to formulate ideas that can be exponential when they enact upon them. So I think that it would be a great disadvantage to those that don't have knowledge or have a direct link to people to inform them of this event.
And what do you think about us going back to space in terms of space exploration? A lot of people say, we have our problems here on Earth. Why are we spending this money to send people back to the moon? And other people are like, hey, our future is in space. This is foundational to the survival of humanity. And then there's a lot of people that are in between. Kind of, where are you in terms of how it
I
ranks?
believe that you have to, what is the term? Uh, there's an old term, having more than one basket, or fill your basket with more than one thing. And humanity has to do that too, because, there's this statistical analysis. what if in the worst case scenario this can happen. So if we're only taking care of the present, which we need to do, and there's ways that people can be generous to people that have less to take care of all people. However, if there's that outlier, the survival of mankind is dependent upon us going into space and finding a better environment because of what will eventually happen to our Earth, then we're going to have to go for that. If the Earth diminishes to nothing, then we need an outside instance hope in space for survival. And that the factor of that grave danger of humanity not existing promotes us to try to go into outer space and find living environments out there.
That reminds me of something that Jeff Bezos said last year when he was unveiling the Blue Moon lander and talking about his vision for space. He said, you know, we have problems today like climate change and poverty, and we need to solve those problems, but we're also going to have problems in the future, and we're not going to be able to solve those immediately. They'll take a long time to solve, and so we should start working on solving them too, just like what you were saying.
Yes, and you have to percentage it out truly. I mean, you know, when there's disasters on Earth, such as the hurricane in Mozambique, where people were greatly devastated, or what happened in Puerto Rico, or people that have tornadoes come through their entire community, and then the disease that can rampage the Earth, that is a priority also. But we need to take somewhat of what we have and put out there for a greater future.
Exactly. And, you know, I mean, even today, those events are uh, kind of helped by space-based assets, you know, the weather prediction and
Yes.
observation,
Hmm.
the being able to assess the damage in real time remotely, and then
Great
setting up
point.
communications too, you know, to
Yes.
kind of organize the response. Well,
Uh,
oh, go
yeah.
ahead.
You just brought out a wonderful point that the newer technologies can have a turnaround effect, like such as maybe the satellites used in space for space things that were designed for space related things can come back and protect our Earth. As far as like landslides, determining where landslides are in Africa, maybe to troubleshoot areas that they need to send help with to promote proper hygiene and cleanliness due to those landslides.
Absolutely. And then also being able to get remote support from experts, medical and, you know, civil engineering and, you know, all sorts of different experts through internet access is key.
Mhm. Mhm.
Well, if it was safe and affordable, would you have an interest in going to space yourself?
No,
And would you like to talk about why not?
for me, um, I don't think I would be an appropriate candidate to send up into space because I probably don't know if I could take the drop coming back to Earth or could physically withstand all the rigmarole to go through. If I had started at an earlier age, it would be possible, but looking at my fears of dropping and falling and things like that, I don't think that I could overcome my anxieties at this point.
Well, would it affect anything if there were like thousands or even millions of people who had successfully gone through that experience ahead of you? Would that help to make you feel more comfortable with it, or you think even then you would still have some reservations?
I'm very individual. I can get on a plane and fly, but I have a fear of heights and a fear of falling. So I don't know if I could withstand it. I have a very strong heart, but I don't know if I could withstand doing that because of my immense fears
I
myself. I believe in others being able to. If I'd started at an earlier age without having fear of it, So for me, no, but somebody else that's very similar to me without these type fears that I have, sure, I don't see a problem. And I have a very strong heart. So I think that I could do very well.
And it's interesting about the fear of heights because I'm also extremely afraid of heights. You put me on like a 4 or 5 story building on the roof towards the edge, and I'm just like in tremors, just thinking about it.
Mhm, mhm.
But I have no trouble being in like a single engine plane flying. For some
I can
reason,
I can do that for a while. Yeah, I can. I have had to do that. I have had to do that. So, maybe, if there was some adaptive measures taken where they do adaptive measures for astronauts. But, I'm wondering for people that travel into space, what adaptive measures are they going to give them to visits in outer space? What about these people that could have a heart problem going into space? If they're going to start doing space, visits for the general public, I think they need to be very careful and think about who they're going to send out there and, gain a doctor's approval among various other trainings before they send them out. And I guess that would go into the expense of their little ride in outer space if it was just a ride around space. If it was in the future to really like the movie shows. There's a movie where there's a journalist and an engineer, and they go into outer space, for a final destination where they're put to sleep. They've arranged all that and thought that out very succinctly before they sent them out there to maintain their health before they got there. You
yeah,
know,
exactly. Instead of going through TSA, you might find yourself on a treadmill doing a heart test before getting on the rocket, right?
That's right. You don't want people dying, going up there. They really need to be concerned about people that can live through it. And you never know what's going to happen to somebody if they've got any physical thing. I'm not a medical doctor. I have a medical background. Um, and and truly there's the aspect of being protected from radiation when you're in space. My background is in radiation related areas. And, they say it's a very short term in deep space before you get all at currently with the measures provided that can protect you from that amount, from your lifetime amount of radiation.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how protective the Earth is of us with its magnetic, sphere, and then
Mhm,
all the water that's in the atmosphere between us and outer space. And you don't
mhm.
have those protections when you start going to the
And
moon and places like that.
that's right. You don't know, what you're going to back with. And also it depends upon the environment that you're sending people. But we all need to, we don't need to lose life to save it. We need to find ways like going to the moon, finding some troubleshooting methods before they send, that they can do there and get help to people and do and really gain learning more quickly in this environment before they send people to the next echelon of deep space travel.
And I wonder if it makes sense to do some testing using animals and before people, trying to find ways to protect. Uh,
Well, they've done that in the past, but I wouldn't. I think that they can gain insights by developing longer terms of how people, some troubleshooting stages of people being on the moon, or something closer to Earth that they can troubleshoot and problem solve before they lose somebody and enact upon it. Something that can give good turnaround time, to keep a method going to gain greater insights that way with longevity.
Oh, exactly. Go for a week and then, go for 2 weeks and then go for 3 weeks and kind of monitor and make sure you understand what kind of effect it's having on people and ways
Yeah,
to.
and then you can troubleshoot find do some problem solving in those timelines when problems occur in those environments. Then you got an extra notch of knowledge with their problem solving measures, how to troubleshoot it in the next environment. There's always going to be problems. There's going to be always be something that you didn't figure out. Look at Apollo 13 and how that guy, how I'm trying to think of his name. He's so awesome. You know how the John Lovell troubleshooted that and got us back. They had to figure out a lot of things in a very short timeline. But if you can gain greater insights with greater proximity with while maintaining life, then you're better off going to the next step. Don't risk somebody's life when you're really not ready to go to that extent. Prepare yourself.
Test, test, and retest, right?
Correct.
Well, I really appreciate your time. Is there anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to?
Um, yeah, in your thoughts, how do you feel about the Artemis mission and the thinking behind it?
Well, I definitely think it's good that we're going back to the moon. There's so much there that we don't know, and it's so close. Only, 3 days the same way that we went with Apollo. We could learn so much from it, and there's resources there that could be developed that could help further space exploration. So going to the moon, I'm all for. I love the commercial lunar payload services program, where they have these private companies competing to put uh, payloads on the moon for NASA, and essentially they're a delivery service for NASA, and they can use any additional capacity they have for whatever they want. I like the nature of the Human Landing Systems program, where they have three companies, commercial companies, working on developing that capability. I like the work that SpaceX is doing. I am concerned though about the work that Boeing and Lockheed does, because the traditional cost plus contracting seems to create uh, a lot of waste and a lot of delays and a lot of cost overruns. And so I mean, the SLS has yet to fly, and it should have flown several years ago. And the earliest now that they're talking about it flying is late 2021. So it's just really,
Have you
really
ever thought
discouraging.
about putting out an analysis report of your visions of what would be the most appropriate economical moon endeavor for mankind?
Oh, well, I'm not sure I can add much more than like what Robert Zubrin's done with his Moon Direct
Mhm.
analysis, and he definitely is a lot better, has a lot more experience and credibility, and a lot clearer. So um, I'm kind of more interested in people um, believing that space is the future of humanity, and that it's important that we figure out how to enable that future, and then enabling as many people to kind of go down their paths as possible. Let's we.
Mhm.
It's not the moon and Mars. It's not the moon or Mars. Mars. It should be the moon and Mars, and it's not asteroid mining and moon mining. We should do everything. We should be going. We need to get more people fired up about the possibilities and enabled to do things. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Rocket Labs from New Zealand, who would have expected for New Zealand to be the only other country to have a private launch capability?
True. Or, I
And
mean, I was unaware of that. I apologize. I don't have the depth of background of understanding, but I find it very interesting.
oh, for
I
sure.
mean, you put a lot of wonderful information out there for others to learn from.
And I'm learning a lot too. Yesterday, I was talking to a person in India who, uh, was talking about some of the challenges with human relations here on Earth,
Mhm.
and all the things that divide us. And he says, whenever you look at the moon, we see the moon as one. And whenever you look at the Earth from the moon, the Earth looks like one, but we've artificially divided it up into all these little bitty groups of people and nations and stuff. And it was just kind of interesting to listen to his perspective about that. So I've definitely learned a lot by talking and listening.
Mhm. Well, it's just like there's a movie called Cowboys and Aliens. Have you seen it?
I have not seen Cowboys and Aliens.
Okay, I'm sorry, and I wouldn't have watched it, but I did see it. And what you will find is if it came down to us losing all humanity, or something trespassing against all the entities of the earth, then all the earth's going to come together for survival. It's what allows some entity survival. I think that's a general way to look at it. So, of course, if they think that for some reason some entity thinks that they have they want to survive, so they're going to compete against somebody else. However, if it's something on the outside that's going to affect their survival, where it's better for them to tag team with another earth entity, they're definitely going to do it. So I think it would be better for the people of the earth to find better reasons to create a tag team.
Oh, exactly. And I like to say that in order for us to realize the benefit that the solar system offers to us, the challenges are so huge. We need every single brain, regardless of
Oh,
what body that brain's in, whether or not what the gender of the body is or the color, the skin of the body. We need the brains working together to kind of improve things and do the
yeah,
problem solving.
as long as it can be done fairly, and really it's for the benefit of all. It and within that there has to be a sharing motive, a sharing motive, and there can't be any underlying things where one would take from another. There has to be built trust that can be trusted.
Oh, exactly. Trust is so difficult. We need to
That's
be.
it.
We need to learn how to develop trust between people. Uh,
Hmm.
great.
Again, if there's some motive that creates people to come together like that in a trust environment to where it would save all, then that's what's going to work. And until then, until trust can be built and true mutual sharing used, then it's not going to happen.
Exactly. Well, Robin, I really appreciate your time and thank you for
Thank you.
being available. I know it was like last minute
Y'all are
notice.
great.
So,
You are great. I've learned a lot from your Space Society meetings. I enjoy coming. Um, you offer a lot of gained knowledge and insights, and I hope that collectively you find the best solution through these videotapes that's going to make a big difference for all.
well, thank you so much, Robin. I look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Thank you. Enjoy being there.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.